Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. It's July 24th, 1847. A man lies burning with fever in the back of a covered wagon, carried through a mountain canyon by his desperate followers. He's been leading 143 men across 1,000 miles of unforgiving wilderness for 3 grueling months. As his wagon crests the hill, he struggles to sit up and gazes out over a vast, barren valley that stretches toward a distant, shimmering lake. The land looks more like Mars than a place where humans could survive. His companions watch nervously as their leader surveys this desolate wasteland that skeptics claimed couldn't grow a single bushel of corn. Then, in a moment that would echo through history, Brigham Young speaks 4 simple words: "This is the place." What drove thousands of people to follow this man into one of the most inhospitable regions of the American West? And how did they not just survive, but create a thriving civilization where experienced frontiersmen said nothing could grow? This is the incredible story of the Mormon Migration, a tale of persecution, innovation, and determination that redefined what was possible on the American frontier. Our story begins in winter 1846, not in Utah's promised land, but in frozen mudflats near Omaha, Nebraska. 15,000 Mormon refugees huddled in makeshift winter quarters, their breath forming clouds in bitter air. These weren't adventure-seeking pioneers. They were religious refugees fleeing for their lives. The Mormon community had been systematically driven from their homes in Missouri, then Illinois. Mobs burned their houses, stole their livestock, and stripped them of everything they owned. Families who once lived comfortably now found themselves destitute, without even enough wagons to transport half their number westward. Brigham Young, the pragmatic leader who inherited this impossible situation, made a decision that seemed insane. Rather than wait for better circumstances, he would lead a small advance party into unknown wilderness to establish a settlement so remote that no mob would bother following them there. But Young wasn't gambling blindly. He had sent scouts to survey potential locations and chosen a narrow strip between Great Salt Lake and the Wasatch Mountains, a region so arid that legendary mountain man Jim Bridger joked he'd pay $1,000 for the first bushel of corn grown there. Young's calculation was brilliant. If the land was too harsh for anyone else to want, it might be perfect for people with nowhere else to go. In April 1847, Young handpicked 143 men between 30 and 50, old enough for essential skills, young enough for physical demands ahead. These carefully selected pioneers would build roads, establish supply lines, and create infrastructure for thousands who would follow. Their caravan was a marvel of frontier engineering: 73 wagons pulled by oxen, mules, and horses, 19 milk cows for sustenance, chickens in crates, and most ingeniously, a leather ferry boat mounted on wheels, a decision that would prove more valuable than anyone realized. What set the Mormon expedition apart was their approach to the journey itself. While other pioneers tried getting from point A to B as quickly as possible, Young treated the trail as infrastructure to develop. Road-building crews worked ahead of the main party, cutting steep banks, bridging streams, and preparing campsites. They weren't just traveling, they were building a highway for their people. When they reached Buffalo Country, Young enforced strict conservation. His men could hunt for food, but waste was forbidden. Every action was calculated not just for immediate survival, but for the waves of Mormon families who would follow this same path. The expedition's first major test came at a flooded river crossing near present-day Casper, Wyoming. The Platte River was running high and fast, impossible to ford safely with loaded wagons. While others might have seen costly delay, Young spotted opportunity. Thousands of gold-crazed Argonauts were streaming westward, desperate to reach California before the best claims were taken. Time meant everything to these travelers, and many would pay handsomely to avoid building rafts or waiting for water levels to drop. Young's leather ferryboat suddenly became a business opportunity. He christened the operation the Revenue Cutter and left 12 men behind to run it. These entrepreneurs worked around the clock during spring rush, charging 50 pounds of flour per wagon, a fortune in frontier economics. The profits would help feed Young's pioneers through their first crucial months in their new homeland. This episode revealed Young's genius, turning obstacles into opportunities while thinking several moves ahead. As the Mormon caravan pushed deeper into mountains, they encountered haunting remnants of the previous year's tragedy. They were the first organized party after the infamous Donner expedition to attempt the cutoff route from Fort Bridger. Beyond Weber Canyon, they found where the panicked Donner Party had hacked their way blindly through wilderness, leaving destruction and desperation. Trees cut haphazardly, equipment abandoned, the path barely passable. Where the Donner Party succumbed to panic, the Mormons responded with systematic engineering. They made camp and conducted thorough mountain surveys. Working together, all 143 men became a coordinated construction crew. In less than a week, they opened a clear, safe passage that would eventually become a major highway. This contrast perfectly illustrates what separated the Mormon migration from other Western expeditions. While other groups were collections of individuals pursuing personal dreams, the Mormons were a unified community with shared purpose and disciplined organization. On July 24, 1847, desperately ill Brigham Young was carried through the final canyon. When lifted to see Salt Lake Valley for the first time, what he observed was hardly inspiring. The land was arid and forbidding, stretching toward a distant lake with no green fertility that immigrants usually sought. But Young wasn't looking for paradise. He was looking for isolation. This desolate valley was perfect precisely because it was protected by 500 miles of rugged mountains on one side and equal expanse of burning desert on the other. No mob would cross such barriers to persecute his people here. His famous declaration wasn't spoken in triumph, but grim satisfaction. This harsh land would be their sanctuary, and they would make it bloom through sheer determination. Within a month, the impossible began happening. 50 acres were under cultivation, irrigation canals channeled mountain water to fields, and a fortified compound took shape. Under irrigation, the supposedly barren soil proved remarkably fertile. Young immediately sent messengers racing back to winter quarters with news of success. The 1848 migration was a logistical masterpiece. 560 wagons carrying 1,500 people made the journey, stripping winter quarters of virtually all transportation resources. But Young had anticipated this problem with typical ingenuity. When wagons were gone, he had his people build handcarts. Over 4 years, more than 3,000 human-powered vehicles were constructed and pulled across the 1,000-mile trail to Salt Lake City. A handcart could carry 500 pounds, and with a man in shafts and family pushing from behind, could cover 30 miles daily, double the speed of ox-drawn wagons. The handcart migration produced both triumphs and tragedies. One company dragged their carts 1,400 miles from Iowa City to Salt Lake in just 9 weeks, arriving with fewer casualties than most wagon trains. But another wasn't so fortunate. 1/6 died from starvation and frostbite when caught by early winter storms. Yet migration never stopped. Despite occasional disasters, The stream of Mormon converts continued westward, driven by faith and promise of sanctuary where they could practice their religion in peace. By 1849, Salt Lake City had grown into a thriving community of 5,000 people, surrounded by hundreds of productive farms. Then came the ultimate test of Young's isolation policy, the California Gold Rush. Ironically, 2 Mormons had been present when James Marshall discovered gold at Sutter's Mill, giving the community direct knowledge of California opportunities. Thousands of gold seekers were streaming past their settlements, desperate for supplies before crossing the desert. These Argonauts would have paid premium prices for Mormon farm produce. But Young absolutely forbade any commercial interaction with travelers. His people had suffered too much from contact with outsiders. They had found their sanctuary, and he wouldn't risk it for any amount of gold. This decision revealed Young's strategy core. While other frontier communities sought integration with broader American economy, Mormons prioritized security and self-sufficiency above profit. They had learned that survival sometimes meant saying no to opportunity. The policy wasn't absolute. Young recognized that 2 Missourians, Colonel Alexander Donovan and Ben Holliday, had risked their lives to warn Mormons of impending attacks during persecution. These men earned trust through actions, proving principled alliances were possible even in hostile territory. By 1850, the Mormon migration had achieved something unprecedented in American history. They had taken one of the West's most inhospitable regions and transformed it into thriving civilization. They developed innovative transportation methods, created successful agricultural systems in desert conditions, and maintained community cohesion across thousands of miles and years of hardship. If you would like to see a lost gold story by where I grew up, click on the link in the description. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.